Okay, today on the show, we have Penny O'Brien from Baird and Warner. And now, Penny has been a real estate broker for 7 years, and she is with Baird and Warner, which is the number one office in Naperville, which is a suburb of Chicago. It's actually one of the biggest cities in all of Illinois, but they're the number one office in one of the biggest cities in Illinois in both sales and listings. And last year, 2019, she was in the top 1% out of all the Baird and Warner agents. And Baird and Warner is one of the biggest real estate companies in here in the Chicagoland area. They have 2,400 agents. Now, her sales have increased on average by 25% every single year since she started. And she consistently ranks as one of the top 5 realtors in her market, which is Naperville, and a top 1% producer in the entire Chicagoland market. And by the way, we have 44,000 agents in Chicago. So this is a very, very big deal. Now, Penny feels that she is still a newer agent, although in the last 2 years, she has sold over 60 homes a year, which is absolutely incredible. And she is on target to do the same this year. Now, her success has been rapid, and she attributes that to her work ethic and marketing. I want everyone to follow Penny. You can find her on Instagram, which is Penny O'Brien, which is OBRIEN _ BW Realtor. BW is for Baird Warner. So Penny O'Brien _ BW Realtor. And we'll post links to all your social as well, and find her on Facebook too. Penny, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
It is nice to have you, and we're super excited. And your growth and trajectory has been really impressive, and our audience is very excited to hear about how you got to where you are. But I always like to start back at the beginning, right? So you've been doing this 7 years, and for anyone at any length of time in this industry, whether you're 20 years in the business or 7 years, to do 60 home sales a year is absolutely incredible. But let's start at the very beginning. So how did you get into real estate? Why did you get into real estate? Tell us all about it.
Well, it's so interesting. I'm doing this today because in 2 days is my 7th anniversary of hanging my license somewhere. So very appropriate. I worked for Procter & Gamble for 10 years. I was a sales rep, and they were literally getting rid of my whole division. They were outsourcing it to another company, and I didn't want to do that. I have a really good friend that's a realtor back from where I am from back home, and
Sure.
It just always seemed interesting, and everyone always said I'd be good at it. Everyone says you should try real estate, and I was like, well, if I'm ever going to do anything new, I might as well do it now when I'm in between careers, jobs, whatever.
Were you originally from the Cincinnati area? Is that where you were at P&G or?
Oh, no, I'm from the Quad Cities, actually. So 2 hours west from here. I am
Sure.
a farm girl, which I love telling people that because they never believe it, which I like. So I don't know.
I went to school near Cincinnati for college a million years ago, and because P&G is right there near where I went to school. So many friends of mine went to. I just always associate P&G with Cincinnati. But you're from the Quad Cities, and how did you get to Naperville?
Oh, long, roundabout story. Once upon a time, I worked for the Limited, also out of Columbus, Ohio, and I was
Sure.
a district manager for them in Texas and Oklahoma. I had 3 states. I also had Arkansas. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And then at one point, I moved my husband and I to Texas with my job, and then we had started having kids. Then we moved to Connecticut, Georgia. I've lived in Iowa and Missouri also, and his job brought us back to Naperville. Yeah, so I do understand people that are getting relocated and what makes them anxious about it and scared. So, and of course, I fell in love with Naperville. We were here on a Labor Day weekend, and it was all closed down for last fling. And they had the streets blocked off, and I was just with a realtor, and I just looked, and there was rides, and I was like, I gotta live here. We went to other downtowns too, and I was like, I want to live here where there's a fair on Labor Day weekend. So,
And
yeah.
they still, so the big thing for our listeners in Naperville, one of the big events that would get people from the city out there as well, is they have a rib fest. Although I've heard, are they not doing that anymore? Is that gone, or is that still happening?
It got moved. Well, it got moved to Romeoville, and I think this was the first year it was supposed to be moved. But of course, we all know this.
Yeah, probably no rib event this year. Yeah.
This difference this year. Yeah. So
So I'm sorry, I completely interrupted your story. I apologize. So you had a more traditional corporate job, and then you moved to Naperville and finally settled. It sounds like, and then just
and
what
then
made you
they got
decide?
rid of, yeah, they got rid of my division. Well, I was going to be out of a job or go
Yeah.
with a third party, and I didn't want to, third party company. And so then I just thought, well, heck, it's a good chance to completely change. And I took the classes and got my real estate license.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here you are. So when you first started, and by the way, you chose obviously one of the best firms, I believe, in my personal opinion, in the Chicagoland area. Baird and Warner is really incredible. They're, for everyone listening, they're not a franchise; they're a local Chicago company, which is really neat. And the other big firm is also a local Chicago company. So the franchises actually struggle a bit here in the Chicagoland area. But you work for a great firm. And when you first started. A lot of times, for example, my girlfriend is about to get her broker license, and she is right now interviewing at different firms. She'll probably be talking to Baird and Warner as well, and trying to figure out the best fit for her. But when you first started, how did you go about starting your business? Did you already have clients lined up, or did you really start from scratch with, like a lot of so many others?
I started from scratch, and it is funny. Obviously, I live in a neighborhood, so I do have a sphere of friends. I have friends.
Sure.
But I did start from scratch, and it's so funny. When I started, I didn't want anybody to know I was doing real estate, just in case I wasn't successful. I
Right.
was like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to tell anybody. And then, I just the first year and a half, like when people are new, I tell them it takes at least a year and a half, 2 years to really get going. But you can't be afraid to do anything. When someone starts, you can kind of tell who's going to be successful and who isn't going to be successful. And I also did a lot of recruiting for my previous career, limited, recruited people, and you could always tell who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. They can't
Sure.
be afraid to do the grunt work, the open houses, which,
Yeah.
were invaluable to me the first couple of years. They need to market themselves. You need to spend money to make money. But you got to be, you also, if you have mentors and they want to hand you something that they don't have time to do, possibly a rental or anything little like that,
Sure.
then you need to step up and do whatever it is, and the agents that start and they say, well, that's really not a convenient time for me, or I don't really want to do that. You're
Sure.
like, yeah, I know. Well, I know it's going to happen,
Right.
so you got to be willing to do that. Even this year, it's crazy. From my first year I started, one of my first 5 transactions, I'm currently having 3 transactions with that person this year.
Wow.
3 this
Is this
year.
is this
From
an
one of my
investor or?
No, it's somebody that I helped him buy something. I sold their father's property this year. And then they're selling the small thing I sold them and moving into a bigger home. So that's
Wow.
3 transactions from one of the first 5 transactions I ever had. So it just all, and then I'm currently relisting a house. I think I'm going to end up having about 10 transactions from my very first or second year.
That's incredible.
So it is, and if you did a good job for them and you liked each other, I do always say that real estate's a personality-driven business. Like most real estate agents are very outgoing and talk a lot. But if people like you, then they won't look for another agent. If they had a good experience, they'll just say, hey, let's call our real estate agent and we need to relist that. Yeah, they currently have 3 things relisted that I sold to them.
Wow. I did an episode yesterday with Facebook. So Facebook has a real estate team. And so they come on our show once a month, talk about what some of the data that they have. And they had this great statistic, which I'm sure will be no surprise to you, which is really basically what you just said. And this isn't even a referral statistic. This is a brand new buyer or seller that maybe they moved to an area where they don't know any realtors, or they just live in an area and they don't know any realtors, but they only 50% of all buyers and sellers only talk to one real estate agent, and which makes perfect sense, really, and because it is such a
Do you
personality
know
driven.
that Zillow says it's 85% only talks to one, and
Yeah,
95% talk to 2, so like 5% talks to 3 or 4. And
yeah,
that's funny too, because when I go to a listing appointment and I say, well, are you talking to other agents? Because I think they should just go with me,
sure.
And so they go, oh yeah, we're talking to 6 agents. I'm like, do you know that Zillow says blah 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 blah? Because I'm like, and can you imagine doing that 4 times? I mean,
Wow.
it's painful.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is, you know, you ultimately, anyone who's a service provider in my life, I just want one really good person, and I'm just going to
Mhm.
stay with them forever unless they really screw up. So that's,
Mhm.
and that, you know, we have lots of brokers at our firm as well, and we're always telling them, take such good care of your clients, because if you do, they are almost guaranteed to never look elsewhere. But if you
Mhm.
don't, or after the transaction, if you don't stay in touch, you know, the more obvious sort of customer service things that I'm sure, you know, when you worked for Limited, I'm sure that's an entirely customer service driven business, you know, and I imagine those skill sets probably really transferred over to real estate.
Yeah, well, I've always been in sales, so once you can sell one thing, you can sell anything. This is just a lot more fun. It's a lot more intense than I thought it would be, and
Yeah.
it's way more hours than I thought it would be. Just when you think you're done for the day, someone else wants to go see something. That happened to me all last weekend. It's just sometimes I say I can't come up for air, and then when I do hit the pillow at night, it's hard because
Yeah.
when I come home at my poor husband because I'm like I can't talk anymore. I just can't talk.
Right.
Well, we had a horrible rain. We've had a lot of rain, but on a Friday, 2 Fridays ago or 3 Fridays ago, I had 4 buyers and I showed 14 houses. I sold my own listing in Streamwood, High-End June, which is an hour from here. And
Yeah.
I drove home in the pouring rain, and I got home at like 8:15. Went through Wendy's drive-through. I got home. Well, and I got home to a garage full of people social distancing in my garage in the rain. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't talk. I'm going in.
Right.
It was insane. But it was
Yeah.
fun. It was a productive day.
Sure. Yeah, it's funny how much of a realtor's day is spent servicing clients. And you know, if you're working an 8-hour day, which we know successful realtors they laugh at that idea of only an 8-hour day, but the vast majority of it is servicing clients, and then only a small percentage of it is really prospecting for new clients. And ultimately, you get to a point where you're not having to prospect as much. I imagine you're probably at that point now where, like you were saying, you know, some of my first clients are now coming back, and I've sold them multiple properties, or, you know, been with them through multiple transactions.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like I've even surprised myself. Like what I've done even surprised me. But I'm a very, really hard worker, and I work all the time now. But it has surprised me. But I just think it's a weird thing you feel like you get a bunch of things going, and it's a momentum type thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm very happy to mentor new agents. Some of them do open homes for me consistently, and I'll give them leads and just things I can't get to. But you do feel the momentum. And this year I did get a buyer's agent, I feel. And she feels it too. Do you know what I mean? Like she's
Yeah.
been a realtor a lot longer than I have, but then she just feels like the calls and things that I get. And I have gotten to the point that I don't prospect anymore. But those first 2 and 3 years, like I said, I just did about anything that came to me.
How often, just because I want our listeners to really appreciate this, is that how often were you doing open houses for other agents when you weren't busy? Was it something like, was it an every weekend thing, or just about every weekend, or how often?
Yeah, just I would do one every weekend. And I don't know that I never did, I never have done two in a day. I know some people when they first start, they do like two on Saturday and two on Sunday, and God bless them. I think that's awesome. I think I
Yeah.
only did one or two a weekend to start. And then, but my most successful open house story was from February of 2015. I had two, and here's the secret about the open house. You talk to them long enough and you connect and you get an appointment with them before they leave the open house.
Yeah.
With two people from the open house that one bought with me, one bought and sold with me, I have now had 8 transactions from those people.
That's
8.
incredible.
With
From an open house.
referral and just everything from one open house. So, 8 transactions from that open house. In fact, one of them contacted me this year, is looking for a different house. But so yeah, definitely did that. And then, as your business grows, that I do think is something very important. And I don't know which real estate coach said this, but if you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. And I have had my assistant Jennifer, who likes to be called transaction manager, so when she
Sure.
watches this. Hi,
Yeah.
Jennifer. So she started with me 4 years ago, a little bit over 4 years ago, and she started at 5 hours a week, and now she's full time. And she also we've kind of created a position with her that she also does some things to my listings and so we've got a whole new thing going for her. But she's went from 5 hours to 40. I used to share with somebody. I would never share her now, ever. So, but she takes care of all the minutia and all the stuff that I can't get to. I would never be able to do all the administrative stuff. So as an agent starts getting busy, even if you have somebody shared an assistant and have them do stuff for you for 5 hours, or if you're not good at marketing, have that person work on your marketing. I did at first when I was afraid to let people know that I was an agent because I was worried I wouldn't be successful. I didn't do much marketing, and then I was like, hell yeah. So I market everywhere. I'm on paper, newsletters, Naperville Magazine, Glancer Magazine. I'm the industry expert once-a-month blogger for Glancer Magazine, which makes me, I think that makes me immediately 20 years younger than I am. I'm a blogger.
I love it.
I know, right? And Jennifer's always after me, like, you need to turn this in. You need to turn this in. So, but I'm enjoying it. I love talking and writing, so it's no problem. But so I like that. So just like, and every one of those things is a touch. Like for new agents, the pop by thing, once a year,
Yes.
I give moms out for in September, and it's been a huge touch for me to touch every client, all my buyers. So think of every fall, they're getting a lovely mom with a big postcard in it. And I'm not kidding you, after I get those delivered, and I usually about 4 of us deliver them, I usually get maybe 3-4 pieces of business from it. Like, I think they just go, oh, I remember her. Oh yeah, I think I need to sell something or buy something. So I do that every year. I haven't developed another pop by, but I also do gimmicky, cheesy things like pens. Do I have a pink pen? Oh yeah, look, I love pink. I have a pink pen with my name on it.
I love it.
But just everywhere, every little bit of marketing that you can do.
Sure.
And
Just
again, spend money to make money.
You mentioned mums, and I think before you'd said you lived in Texas for a while. Though mums are huge in Texas around the fall.
Oh, they are?
Oh yeah, in Dallas. If everyone's listening wants a fun laugh, look up Homecoming Moms Dallas, and you will see what the students all do. They all drape themselves in giant mums. So anyway, I wasn't sure if you were ever lived near there, but mums are one of those cool flowers that nobody ever buys for themselves, but will really appreciate it. And really, what Penny's talking about, she mentioned the term pop by. For those not familiar, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's really a term Brian Buffini kind of coined and made his own. But it has to do with dropping off little, fun gifts, things of value, items of value, whether it's, a mom or there's lots of ideas you can do. It doesn't have to be real estate related. It can just be a cute little, hey, I'm thinking about you gift. And right now, I think, we're obviously starting, who knows if we're going to be heading back into a more of a stay-at-home order or not, but it feels like we're moving out of that currently, and I hope that trend continues. But back when we were all at home and not being able to leave, you could do care packages. There's lots of cool things you can always do. You don't have to spend a lot of money either, but this is a perfect example. She goes out and does that and gets several pieces of business, which is of course not the reason she's doing it. She's doing it to make sure her clients feel appreciated and thought of, but it also ends up resulting in business, which is so wonderful.
Well, and when you do something like that, just even it's so fun for them to text you. I do. I send a $10 Starbucks gift card for anniversaries, and I get so many pictures of them, and thank you, Penny, and I do it, but they don't realize that Jennifer's really the one that's.
Well, look, I mean,
it gets done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
we all need a team. I mean, I schedule appointments all day. I talk to realtors. My job's to recruit realtors, and I don't actually schedule the appointments. Someone else does that, but it gets done, and that's the important part. And what a great thing. And you're talking about their home buying or selling anniversary, or like their wedding anniversary or birthday, or.
Well, it would be no home buying, and you
Got
know
it.
what? I'm not the best tech person, but I don't have anybody's birthday. I don't have anybody's wedding anniversary. I have your move in your home anniversary, and it's all I'm capable of keeping track of. So,
sure. Well, but even so, the home buying or selling anniversary is a really good one, because other people in their life are going to be celebrating those birthdays and you know, wedding anniversaries and things, which is always a good thing for a realtor to know about. But nobody's going to remember their home buying or selling anniversary except maybe them, and they probably don't remember, and nobody else other than the realtor. So what a great opportunity on a random weekday that they're probably not expecting to get a little reminder of, hey, 3 years ago I helped you buy or sell something. By the way, go have a cup of coffee on me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually like that. And again, I like that they contact me. They send me a picture of it or there. And then I started one where I sent in gift cards when people had babies that, I don't know, I think all my clients have too many kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't keep track of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I tried.
And we should also mention too, but when Penny and I were talking right before we started filming here, she was like, oh my God, I have never, ever been this busy. So I'm curious on what you attribute that to. Was it everybody was so pent up and looking around their home, being stuck there and going, we need something bigger? Was it a lot of that or other factors? And obviously we know mortgage rates are super low, under 3% right now. Money is so cheap, but what are you attributing it to?
Well, I just feel like it's a perfect storm. There is low inventory. I'm currently carrying around a printed copy because, yes, I'm old. I don't want to look for it on my computer. But
Yeah.
one of the last Zillow reports from a couple of weeks ago that we're starved for inventory, we are down 22%. So
Wow.
sellers are listing their homes. The good-looking homes are still getting sold, and they're getting snatched up right away because there's no inventory. Which, if
Right.
it is a seller's market, and you would think if it was a seller's market that the buyers would be hesitant because it's the seller's market and they're not going to get a deal. Well,
Right.
they're not hesitant because interest rates. I have somebody this week I was working with, got 2.7. I'm
Oh,
like, of course they're not hesitant. So it's a perfect storm. The sellers are trying to sell and the buyers are trying to buy. I've been on a few listing appointments where they're like, we were thinking about selling next year. And then for me, I'm talking to them like this. I'm like, don't wait till next year because we don't know what's going to happen. And currently right now it's awesome to sell your house. You know, it's
yeah.
awesome. It's a great time to list. And even just think, usually 4th of July, it's over. 4th of July that week signified 48% increase in homes under contract in our MLS. And the next
Wow.
week, this last week we ended was just about the same. It's nuts out there. So it's a great time to sell and it's a great time to buy, both.
Yeah, it is a perfect storm, and we're very fortunate to have those two things colliding, where you know, buyers have easier access to funds or cheaper access to funds. Sellers have more buyers that are looking at properties, so they're going to get probably more top dollar than they were a few months ago. Even though rates were low a few months ago too, but obviously the market prevented a lot of people from buying and selling.
Well, and then on the flip side of that, if you do have a listing that isn't selling, it's not the market. So there's either a price issue or a
Right.
condition issue, something they need to address. And like with the same gusto, I have to explain to them, you're not getting showings or you're not selling or whatever. So it's the same thing. Like everyone should be selling right now. It's the best market since what, '07 to sell a house? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Just this is a great question, or I don't know if it's a great question, but it's an interesting question we get a lot on the podcast. So people will call or email us and say, "Hey, I make sure to ask this to your next guest," and I always forget to ask. So I'm gonna ask you, if you have a seller that has a completely unrealistic expectation for pricing, how do you handle that? What do you do? Do you take the listing anyway and just sort of over time get them to a more reasonable price, or do you walk away, or does it depend?
you know what? That's so funny you say that because my mantra for 2020 for business was don't take any overpriced listings. It's not worth it. I won't be the agent that sells it. And the second
Right.
agent always looks like a hero. Like
Right.
I just love being the second agent. Well, I love getting listings that didn't sell and figure out why and sell them. But no, you know what? If you go with the information, your comparative market analysis, and you put it out there, and I don't know how other agents do this, I do try to get them, we look at it all together, look at all I call it math facts. We look at all of it and I go, so all 5 of these compare to your home and they're all listed at this. What do you think you should be listed at? And only once in a while do they go, well, that's what we have you here for. What do you tell us what it should be? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. But, you know, they see what it is and they go, well, we thought we should list for 600, but now that you showed us that, we do think it's 450. You know,
Right.
so hopefully
Right.
they'll realize that if it's if you want to overprice it a little bit, we could try it for 3 weeks. If you want to price it a lot a bit, I'm not your girl.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
worth it because you're not going to sell it.
and that person's going to have a negative feeling about you after they fire you and they hire someone else, and it really wasn't your fault, other than maybe you could say maybe it's someone's fault if they don't assert themselves and say, guys, this is an unrealistic expectation and I don't want to put you in a position to have to fire me. And I imagine you've had those conversations, I'm sure, over the years. But also, as you develop a great reputation, which you of course have, it probably makes it a lot easier to get people to listen, I would assume.
Yeah, I would hope so. I don't like to pull that card very often. Like,
Sure.
do you realize, like, I sold this much and I specialize and da da da, and I promise, and these are the facts. That's what cracks me up too. When you have like the math facts, and they're like, nope, I still think our orange walls and brown carpet are way better than the rest of these houses. So.
So I have a question. So you're at one of the biggest firms in Chicago, one of the most successful firms. They're always either number one or two. So they are a great company, Baird Warner, and they have 2,400 agents. And I know not all of them are at your particular office, but there's a lot of agents at that office too. When somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, Penny, you're successful. I would love to do open houses for you." How easy is that for an agent to? Is that something where I know I've talked to other agents in the past who say, the first time somebody asks, I say, okay, come back to me in a bit. Is that something that, for example, what I want to give our listeners is an idea of, if you get a no, maybe don't give up. Keep trying, because top producers, they want to give those open houses to people they know are going to work them well. But I'm just curious if you have any advice for how to ask for that from agents.
Well, that's so funny. I think of that a little bit different. I feel like the newer agent, the novice agent, is the one that's hungrier and then works the leads that they get. They work all the leads. Even if I did my own open house, I'd work, like, let's say I had 6 people go through and only 2 seemed viable. I'm just going to concentrate on those 2.
Sure.
Whereas the newer agent will, they'll contact everybody and send them searches and whatever. I think they're a little bit more, they're eager. So I love when new agents want to do open houses. I never have hesitancy to assign it to them. And the only thing I wish I could do a little bit more, I do have limited time. I feel like there's anything I'm poor in, it's time. So
Sure.
I'm kind of leaning towards not doing very many open houses at all, just because I need a day off if I happen to get Sunday off, and or I'm showing. So I would love to do open houses with new agents, because I've been successful at them. So I would love to share a little bit more. But no, I have no problem letting new agents do open houses, because I think they're so eager. So yeah, and then with new agents too, I've gotten a pretty foolproof listing presentation going. So I don't mind going through and showing what kind of paperwork
Sure.
I take with me and what I talk about. And I have a staging book that has been turned out golden for me, before and after pictures. I used it this morning, where I told you I just went to that listing appointment, and it's just amazing what staging does, and I believe in that. So anyway, these are things I share with new agents. Somebody wants to talk and sit down and talk with me, I will definitely make time.
So all of our listeners, I want you to think about who's the most successful agents in your office. Go talk to them and ask them, because Penny is a perfect example of somebody goes, no, I love her helping new agents, with open houses and other opportunities and mentorship. So don't be afraid to reach out to the really successful agents. Yes, they're busy. Yes, they might not have time today, but they want, they were once like you, right? They started out, and perfect example of a good reason to reach out to those people in your office that you admire. Let's talk about staging, because you just mentioned that. And I know that right now I was going to ask you, because the market is so busy, is staging right now as important as it was when we had more inventory? Is it still something you recommend to a majority of your sellers, or is it just a case-by-case basis? Or
I still recommend it, and staged homes sell 76% faster. And I don't mean staging with furniture. If I get a vacant, I take care of the staging. It's complimentary to my sellers.
Sure.
I virtual stage vacants. I won't pay for furniture staging, because those are like $1,800 out the door. If they want that, they can do that and
Sure.
pay for that, and I'm fine with that. But I do the virtual staging for vacant, and then that's called a soft staging, where the stager does a consultation walkthrough and then comes back and does like a 2-hour putting of the, big tabletop things and whatever. But I'm a certified stager. So when I walk through, if we're
Wow.
talking about painting, I'll tell you what, dated curtains, take those suckers down, because that's one thing that just dates the house. And dated paint colors. It's
Yeah.
not green, red, and gold anymore. But if they're going to paint, you're like, when you paint, take down those curtains. So I get it like a clean slate for the stager. She comes through and then she comes back with all these big things. So it's not for living in your house. It's for staging your home for sale.
Right.
Current art, not a Thomas Kincaid. You know what I mean? Just switching that stuff out, it makes a huge difference. I still believe in it. But what you were just saying about how everything's selling so fast, the staging is still necessary. Case in point, agents always have a story. So I just relisted a home that had been off and on the market for 4 years.
Wow.
It needed staged very desperately.
It sounds like it.
Because it just made it more current.
Sure.
And I listed it last week. We dropped the price by $4,000.
That's
so
it.
I didn't hardly change.
Just $4,000.
So far.
Wow.
We're testing it, but we staged it. It looks awesome. So we've had several showings this last week. Let's say 10 or 12, because that's the market we're in. And I just got a text from an agent that he's submitting an offer. So, So to me, that will be the testament of how staging works. But what you're talking about, do we really need to do this stuff because the market's so busy? What you really don't always need to do because the market's so busy. Like there's a huge trend of paint and trim white in the house, or the kitchen cabinets white. Well, if you have a great home, it's in perfect condition and it's got stained everything, I would go ahead and stage it and put it on the market. But if I talked to you in January, if I talked to you last year, I'd say, we need to paint the trim white. Right now, time is of the essence. You need to get the house on the market because the market's insane. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So the things that you could do quickly to get it ready, and staging would still be one of them, but you might skip painting all the trim white and kitchen cabinets white because it's more important to get it on the market.
Right. There's a race to the market at this point.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's a frenzy.
Wow. Well, I think that is a perfect place to start to wrap up. I want to say, and I mean this very sincerely, it's going to sound like I'm not fully honest about this, but I am actually honest. I was thinking, now I have a real estate license. So I want our listeners to understand the context here. I have a real estate license, same one Penny has. I don't practice real estate, but if I was going to be purchasing or selling a home in Naperville, I could technically do that myself. I would not do that myself. I would hire her, assuming she could take me as a client, because I want somebody who's the best. And Penny is a rising star. She's already arrived, but she is continually rising in the Naperville and surrounding areas market of the western suburbs of Chicago. So I want to make sure anyone who's listening, who's looking for an agent, who specializes in that area, and I'm sure I imagine you go not just within Naperville city limits, but other suburbs as well. Of course, you mentioned the hour-long drive to the other suburb. So you're obviously working a lot of different areas. But what would be if
I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, which, by the way, another mark of a great real estate agent, willing to do the work, no matter if it's in their backyard or outside. But if somebody is interested in working with you, a buyer, a seller, a renter, an investor, who's looking for a top agent, what's the best way they should reach out to you?
I have one phone number. It's my cell phone number, 630-207-7001.
Great. And what's your email address as well?
Me.
Yeah.
Penny.O'Brien, O'Brien, at BairdWarner.com.
And I want to remind everyone, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You can find me on Zillow too.
Yes, look up her. She has great reviews on Zillow. Look up Penny O'Brien. She's easy to find, and follow her on Instagram. You can find her at Penny O'Brien _BW for Baird Warner, BW Realtor. So Penny O'Brien _BW Realtor. Find her on Facebook. She's super easy. Just type in Penny O'Brien. She pops right up. Penny, thank you so much. I know how busy you are, and we really appreciate your time. This was awesome. You provided so much value to our agents. Before we sign off, I want to remind everyone who's listening to do two quick things. One, please tell a friend. Think of one other real estate professional that could benefit from having heard this interview with Penny and send them a link to our show. We are now we believe, the most popular podcast in the country for realtors. So send them a link. The easiest way is send them to our website, keepingitrealpod.com, or just go on any podcast app, do a search for Keeping It Real Podcast. We'll pop right up. And the second thing is to please follow us on Facebook. Not only do we do these episodes live with video on Facebook, so you don't have to wait for us to produce them, but also we find an article online, or we post an article on Facebook that we have found online every single day from a news organization specifically designed to help you grow your business. So we provide nothing but that content there. So please, again, facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. Penny, thank you. I am super excited to continue to watch your growth in the industry and the superstardom that is already here for you. So keep up the great work, and thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you. It was